The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-12R is one of those motorcycles that etched its name into the history of sportbikes, a machine that not only pushed the limits of engineering but also carried a certain aura of dominance whenever it appeared on the streets. Released in 2000, it was Kawasaki's answer to the Superbike wars of the late 1990s and early 2000s, when manufacturers were locked in a battle for speed, power, and bragging rights. The ZX-12R wasn't just built to compete, it was designed to conquer. Even today, it stands as one of the most legendary motorcycles Kawasaki has ever produced. At its core, the ZX-12R packed a massive 1,199cc inline-four engine that delivered raw power with an addictive surge of acceleration. With nearly 178 horsepower in stock form, this bike was a missile on wheels, capable of breaching the 300 km/h mark under the right conditions. Kawasaki equipped it with fuel injection and a ram air system, ensuring optimal performance at high speeds, which meant the faster you went, the harder it pulled. At the time of its release, it was considered one of the fastest production motorcycles in the world, competing head-to-head with bikes like the Suzuki Hayabusa, which had already earned a reputation for breaking the 300 km/h barrier. The ZX-12R didn't just challenge the Hayabusa, it made sure Kawasaki was firmly back in the spotlight of high-performance motorcycling. The design of the ZX-12R was as aggressive as its performance. Its sharp, aerodynamic fairing was crafted not just for looks but for high-speed stability. The sleek, pointed nose housed twin headlights that gave it a fierce and intimidating presence, while the sculpted fuel tank and narrow tail section emphasized its sporting intentions. Kawasaki didn't just want the ZX-12R to be fast in a straight line, they wanted it to handle with the confidence of a true superbike. The aluminum monocoque frame was one of its most innovative features. Instead of the conventional twin-spar setup used by most sportbikes of its time, Kawasaki engineered a lightweight, rigid monocoque chassis that contributed to excellent stability at high speeds and improved aerodynamics. This frame design became one of the ZX-12R's defining technical achievements. When it came to handling, the ZX-12R was surprisingly composed for a machine of its size and power. It wasn't as nimble as a 600cc sportbike, but for a heavyweight superbike, it offered impressive cornering ability and stability. The fully adjustable suspension allowed riders to dial in settings for aggressive canyon carving or comfortable highway cruising. Braking was handled by dual 320mm discs up front with 4-piston calipers, paired with a single disc at the rear, providing strong stopping power to rein in all that speed. For many riders, the ZX-12R struck a balance between the raw aggression of a superbike and the comfort needed for long-distance riding, making it versatile enough for both spirited track days and cross-country tours. On the road, the ZX-12R was a beast. The throttle response was instant, and the engine delivered a wave of torque that pulled hard through the rev range. The ram air effect meant that the faster you rode, the more powerful it felt, making high-speed runs an adrenaline-charged experience. Yet, despite its brute strength, the bike had a surprisingly refined side. The ergonomics were sporty but not overly punishing, allowing riders to cover long distances without excessive fatigue. The large fuel tank provided decent range, making it practical for longer rides. Kawasaki clearly intended the ZX-12R to be more than just a dragstrip monster. It was a high-speed sport touring machine with a racing soul. Of course, no discussion of the ZX-12R would be complete without mentioning its rivalry. With the Suzuki Hayabusa, the two bikes became icons of the speed wars, with fans passionately defending their favorite. While the Hayabusa ultimately edged out in terms of outright top speed, many riders preferred the ZX-12R's aggressive handling and more refined chassis. It wasn't just about how fast the bike could go in a straight line. It was about the overall riding experience, and in that arena, the Kawasaki held its ground firmly. Today, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-12R remains a highly respected motorcycle among enthusiasts. Though it was eventually succeeded by the ZX-14, it still holds a special place in the hearts of riders who remember the thrill it delivered at the turn of the millennium. For collectors and riders alike, owning a ZX-12R is like holding onto a piece of superbike history, a reminder of an era when manufacturers dared to push the limits without electronic restrictions holding them back. The ZX-12R wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a statement, a bold declaration from Kawasaki that they were willing to push boundaries and redefine what a superbike could be. 2 decades later, it still inspires respect every time its name is mentioned, proving that some legends never fade.